Hey everyone, Amia here from Residence Astrology, and I'm joined once again by Duna Holler, and we are welcoming you to the Decan Dance Series. And today we're going to look at the Decans of Virgo. And if you're completely new here and wondering what the Decans are, they are the 10 degrees increments of a sign. So when we split a sign in three parts, because one sign is 30 degrees, right? So when we split it into three parts, we get like three distinct parts of a specific sign. And these parts are called the decans, and they have rulerships over them, which we're going to discuss. And so, if you have any placements, planets in Virgo, if you have your sun in Virgo, it's going to be different if you have it at like 5 degrees or 16 degrees or 28 degrees of Virgo. It's going to play out differently in your life. And this is what we are going to take a look at today, precisely. And this is always in YouTube, we have this like introductory um I don't know, video, basically, you could say, where we kind of introduce the decans. And then all of this is really to also promote the workshops, which are live workshop, even though you also do get the recording if you sign up. So don't let that frighten you. But the workshops are really like, we're going to go more in depth. We're going to look at example charts. We're going to look at the tarot cards even more in depth. And we're also going to read poems for each of the decans from T. Susan Chang's book, Dreaming the Decans. And we're also going to look at transits, like any transits that are kind of happening right now or maybe going to happen in the near future through the decans of this sign. So, in the Virgo workshop, we will probably maybe look at like Mercury's journey through the decans of Virgo, just because Mercury will be in Virgo during that time. And right, Mercury is not only the domicile, it's also exalted in Virgo. So that's exciting. Just to give like a hands down, like approach of like what is happening right now and how can we see that showing up. And the workshop, when is the workshop? Of course, it's gonna happen on September 14th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Central European Time. And the link to sign up for that workshop, it costs $11 to sign up for one singular workshop, and is going to be in the link down below in the description. And if you want to sign up for the whole year, which you can do whenever you want to, you can also sign up now if you want to, and you're going to get the recordings, all the recordings from like Aries and Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo. Damn, we've already been through so many signs.
We're
You're going to get all
almost
of this.
halfway.
Yeah, we're almost halfway. Virgo is going to mark the halfway mark. And so if you want that, and sign up for the whole year, you will get all the recordings of all the previous workshops. So you're up to date with everything. And both of the links to sign up for that are going to be in the description below. And we're definitely looking forward to seeing you there. Oh, and by the end, but this is not recorded. This is only if you come live, talking about your birth chart, and any transits that are maybe relevant in your life. So for this reason, we encourage people to actually join live. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you covered everything.
Great.
Yes, so we can go with the decans. Each one
Yes.
of these is the 10 degrees, the first 10 degrees, the second 10 degrees, and the end 10 degrees of Virgo. That's the order of the decans. And the first one, Virgo 1, is called by Austin Kopok a tree-bearing fruit. And the image of this decan is a woman with long hair holding two spikes and a basket, sometimes with a child inside the basket. A man on a throne rises with her. The rulers of this decan are the Sun in Chaldean order and Mercury in Ptolemaic order, and it's generally a decan that is a lot about the just the fruits that a tree grows. So like the way that your efforts in the world and your kind of like little everyday efforts, that's kind of what Virgo, especially this first decan, is about, have amount to in the end. So like a lot of little pieces make kind of like a big picture, which is that sun rulership. And the card is the Eight of Pentacles.
Yes. So this is the card we have here. And also, by the way, before I forget, the deck that I'm using is the Chip and Way Tarot deck. Again, normal, the normal deck, just with a bit of a more psychedelic version of it. That's why, it looks a bit more hippie-like. And the pentacles are like peace signs in here. So just in case you're wondering. And I love the sun image here in the background. We can fully see the Decan here as well. And I feel like this card is so like much about this like precise work. We can literally see it in his face. He's like precisely working on here. And it's like this perfect order as well that Virgo always like likes to bring up front. They're not arranged like anywhere. They're like in this perfect order and shape. And I think it's really just the effort that comes here. And also, if we think of Virgo, like, the sun's a journey in astrology, right? At least here in the Northern Hemisphere, Virgo season officially is the end of summer. All the mutable signs are at the end of each season. So it's like the sun is still there and like it is summer, but we're officially transitioning into autumn. And that's why there's a lot of this like laboring quality or like what came out of the labor that you did, especially, the seeds that you probably planted in Aries Taurus season now are coming to fruition and are bearing the fruit. And that is so much about like the journey, especially of the sun in this decan. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add here, Duna?
I think you cover, yeah, a lot of what this card is about and the Decan as well. I really like how you kind of zoom in the Mercurian side of Virgo, which is very different. We were talking about this before, than the Gemini one, which is kind of like more like a scatter knowledge. And
Mhm.
here is more like concrete, like earthy knowledge. So it's like these tree bearing fruits is like the manifestation of like the effort put into the little details. Like if someone, I always imagine this first decan of Virgo as like someone like kind of like weaving something.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's a bit similar to if we think back to Taurus and like that last, which is comes before this card, right? If I'm not mistaken, which would be this is the eight of wands, right? The seven of sorry, not wands,
Pentacles,
pentacles.
yes.
The seven of pentacles. It reminds me a bit of this card, or at least I see some sort of like similarity there.
Mhm.
So so that's interesting. But yeah, definitely a lot of like effort. But also the good thing, there is like, he already did so many of these pentacles, right? There's so much fruit already happening here. So much fruit from the labor.
So now we're gonna read the poem from Susan Chan's 36 Secrets associated with the first decan of Virgo. It's an excerpt from The Sayings of Layman Pang, a Zen classic of China, translated by James Green. What I do every day is nothing special. I simply stumble around. What I do is not thought out. Where I go is unplanned. No matter who tries to leave their mark, the hills and dales are not impressed. Collecting firewood and carrying water are prayers that reach the gods.
Yay.
Okay, we can go with the second decan. So the second decan is called, in Ostenkopov 36 Faces, the Hamel and the Anvil. The images of the decan usually show a muse playing the lyre and the pipe, alongside a black man wearing three cloths of different materials and counting his bills. And the ruler of the decans are Venus in Chaldean order and Saturn in Ptolemaic order. Generally, I think of this one as the Venusian effort this time, which is more of like the sort of like pain, but also struggle that goes into creating great works of art. That's what I way I would describe in this second Decan of Virgo, and it's very, very beautiful, but it hides some sense of sacrifice. And the card is the Nine of Pentacles.
Yeah, so we have this beautiful and lovely card, usually a card that people love getting when they are doing tarot cards. Usually symbolizes oh, wait, sorry, the light is like anyhow. Um but yeah, and I think you said that very well. This like there's definitely a quality of beauty here. And even you could say some sort of abundance. At the same time, you could also interpret that this person is behind grape vines walls. um so there's also, and that's maybe like a bit of the Saturnine quality of like being inside the walls, where like you're sheltered for sure, but then also it's always a question of like, are you really living then though? um and there's also, Venus, right? Venus in Virgo isn't its fault. So it's not like the best position for Venus to be in. And that does not mean that there isn't any beauty. It's just that the Venusian quality, which we see in the exalted Venus, that is a Venus in Pisces, comes much more like natural because it's a lot more like intuitive and dreamy and all of that. And in Virgo, there's like a big emphasis on Mercury. And when you're so much in your head, it's very hard to tap into creativity and into all of that, and why it's harder and why it takes a greater effort to maintain a beautiful work of art, which can be beautiful in a different way, right? Like it's maybe not like the conventional beauty that we see, even though like I would say this person is definitely conventionally beautiful in this card portrayed here. Um, but yes, just like yeah, what we have to put, it's a different type just of Venus. Like she has to do things a bit differently. And at the same time, I really like it. It has a bit of a like Disney princess vibe, this card. For sure. Um, and at the same time here, like a lot of Disney princesses, they're veiled off. Like you could see like here, like the city is in the back, but they're like veiled off in their like walls in whatever way. And this can be nice, but again, it's just like the question here is like, but are you really living? I feel like in a way. Like, yeah, okay, nice, abundance, great, beauty, but like, is this really living? Is this really the life you want to live? Yeah. What do you have to say about this card?
I think you said it very well. I think it's very interesting that the person is also holding a prey bird. So,
Hmm.
like, there's various
Yeah.
parts in this card where it shows the grapevines are as well a very interesting sort of Saturnian process, and the verb
True.
praying as well. Both things. So kind of this side of Venus that is when it's in Virgo, and this side of Saturn as well, which are very meticulous and very like directed towards a goal. So I think like definitely what I will say about this card is that the beauty is not accidental.
Yeah. More on
And
this on the workshop.
yes, for sure. And the poem is Trimming the Sails by Bassar Miller. I move along my pots and pans that have no life except my own, nor warrant save from my flesh and bone, that serves my tastes and not a man's. I'm jealous of each plate and cup, frail symbol of my womanhood. Creator like, I call it goose, and vow I will not give it up. I move along my things and think of woman who for loving care he had for slaves, used wooden ware, and washed my silver in the sink, wishing my knives and forks were finer. So Lady Poverty won heart of Francis her male counterpart will find me in a sad decliner. Sometimes regrets old dogs will hound me with feeble barks, yet my true love is brother fire and sister stove, and walls and friends and books around me. Yet to renounce your high romance, being par pain my soul to do, prove half humility that you may bless good woman and sweet Francis.
I love this quote after everything we said. Again, it feels so like this princess behind the walls in this library, like so shielded from the world.
Absolutely. Again, more in the workshop because I think it's gonna be very interesting to talk about the aspect of the fall of Venus and Virgo on the second.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we go to the third decan, the last decan of Virgo, is Virgo 3, and it's called by Austin Kopok the sarcophagus. The images of the decan are usually of a deaf person, and they're wearing a colored mantle that is usually washed but not dried. The rulers of this decan are Mercury in Chaldean order and Venus in Ptolemaic order. And generally, besides the fact that it's called the sarcophagus, which is kind of like um, ominous, I do like the play and the order that the Virgo decans have with the rulerships, because this is ruled by Mercury, is like the domicile planet, and Venus, which is the fall planet. So it's kind of like this double side, which the Virgo sign itself is a double sided sign, end of the earth sign. So it's like and we'll go through this in a moment. The Ten of Pentacles, the last card of the Pentacles, and being the last of the earth sign story is kind of like a capitulation of everything that came before.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah, the Ten of
10
Pentacles.
of Pentacles. Whoop. This is the 10 of Pentacles. Um, and again, I told Zuna before, I have a bit of a hard time with this card just because it feels not so personal to me. Like I rarely pull this card, like out of all tarot cards, I feel like it's one of the cards that I don't really have any deep relationship with. Like I don't see it often, you know what I mean? Like there's just some tarot cards where like you have an immediate bond and like you get them constantly. That's not one of the cards for me at least. It might be for some, of course. But yeah, m most of the I guess except the swords, they don't have like the sexiest picture of the 10 of swords. But a lot of the like last tarot cards of the what are they called? The suits, the like coins, wands,
Yes.
whatever. Like this is a nice one, you know. Like I feel like there's just it feels a bit like a village, you know. And it's like it's a bit of a contrast to this where it almost feels like this is the person that is here in the castle and like they are what is here in the background. Like, you know what I mean? So this is like kind of what's happening outside of the castle walls. And so I like it here. And there's a lot of, and I like this person here that is like this wise man, right? Because the Virgo card in like the major arcana is the Hermit. So I feel like this card has a lot to do with wisdom and a lot to do with mental wisdom, right? Because Mercury, and Mercury does this interesting thing here. Like Mercury is always the odd one out, right? Like Mercury is the only planet that is domicile in Virgo and exaltation in Virgo. No other planet does that. Mercury's just being a little trickster as always. Um, and so I feel like you can kind of see it here. And also the duality with like, these two like people in the background, which might as well be like twins, we don't really know. And these two dogs. I don't really know what that is, to be completely honest. But
Me neither.
it's like I'm not even sure. Is it an animal or an instrument? I don't really know.
I think it's supposed to be an instrument in the main. I'm trying to remember the
Yeah.
driver well card, but I think it's supposed to be some sort of instrument.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on in this card for sure. And I feel like maybe Duna can elaborate a bit more just again because I feel like I'm not the spokesperson for this card at least.
Yeah, I feel like this card shows a lot of like completion and like recapitulation. I would like do the like all the Virgo cards so far have this um, quality of like counting and like attention to details. But I feel like especially the two, like especially the Eight of Pentacles the and the Ten of Pentacles, I feel like those two particularly have this quality of capitulation, of like counting coins, quite literally. And I feel like in this one, it's kind of like counting all the victories that you have, counting all the things that you have created, counting all the relationships that you have. Because this card, as you said, shows like maybe those people are twins. There's like this old man, these animals, there's like a city and a castle. So it's kind of like describing a lot of the relationships that go through various different phases in like a social setting or a community. And I feel like that is where Venus steps up in this card, the relational aspect. And again, combined with Mercury, very, very different energy than the Saturnian one, which is kind of like more of like this beauty came with sacrifice. Here is more of like we are recapitulating on all the ways that we relate to each other, even when it's difficult. I would say that's like a good sum up of the card.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely just like a community vibe to it, right? Because it's also there's a little child here. I like this beautiful thing of like, incorporating and coming together with everyone, right? Like nobody's left out. The animals aren't left out, the elders aren't left out, the children aren't left out. We're all here together. We're all in this together. Um, yeah, and I think Mercury also just shines through here. Because Mercury is about like the mind and like Mercury is just very smart in Virgo, and like combining things and all of that. But yes, that's what we have for this card and more in the workshop.
Yeah, way more on the charts as well, which I
Yeah,
think for Virgo are going to be particularly interesting defining the different decans and their rulerships. The poem is by one of my favorite poets, Dylan Thomas, and is This Breath I Break. This breath I break was once the oath, this wine upon a foreign tree, plunging its fruit. Man in the day or wine at night, laid the crops low, brought the grapes joy. Once in this time wine the summer blood, knocking the flesh that decked the vine. Once in this breath the oath was merry in the wind. Man broke the sun, pulled the wind down. This flesh you break, this blood you let, make desolation in the vein, where oat and grape, born of the sessile root and sap. My wine you drink, my breath you snap.
great.
Okay. So again, the workshop is on September 14th, 7:30 p.m. CEST. And we'll see you all there, whoever wants to come. And I'm really excited for the charts that we're gonna talk about. So I encourage anyone to sign up.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, liking this video, subscribing to the channel, following both of us on Instagram, because we also always do an Instagram post where you have basically everything we said kind of here on YouTube in like a written form. And it's also very handy, if you have like, I don't know, Mercury and Virgo in one of these decans to just like save it and then you can like look at it. Sometimes a bit easier. And, maybe, anybody else, maybe somebody, has Virgo placements, like, sending them this video, like sharing this video. That's also very, very helpful for us because I feel like the Decan series hasn't got nearly as much love as it should have gotten. And I get it. It's definitely like a bit more advanced, right? Like it's not like the easiest astrology Because usually when you start learning astrology, it's already complicated, and you're like, and what? And now I have to split the sign in three parts. So like, I fully get that part. But if you know anyone that's more deeply interested, but probably you're deeply interested if you've watched this video so far, but just like sharing, sending, again, liking, subscribing, it helps out more than you know, for real. For real. Or just commenting. Like maybe, if you have any Virgo placements in the deck, and comment that down below.
Yeah, we do answer to comments a lot. So if
Yeah.
you have doubts, drop it in the comments.
Yeah. Any
Or
questions?
come to
Yeah.
the workshop because that the way you can have like a long discussion
Oh,
doubt about
yeah.
your chart.
Absolutely. Great. So we'll see you guys there at the workshop. And for now, we wish you a lovely Virgo season. Bye. See you soon.